Dr. Micron always believed every life was worth saving. That belief had carried him through wars, disasters, and experiments that nearly killed him. But today, standing inside the cold operating room of Blackgate Institute, that belief felt heavier than ever. On the metal table lay the most dangerous man in the city, Grinlord. Even unconscious, the man was smiling. 3 doctors stood nearby, whispering like they were afraid the walls could hear them. Brain scans glowed on the monitors. The images looked wrong. Too bright. Too active. His synapses are firing non-stop, one doctor explained quietly. Like an engine stuck at full power. Seizures will come first. Then coma. Then death. Micron crossed his arms. And you want me to stop that? Yes. The screen changed. A digital model of a brain appeared. A tiny, glowing point showed where the medicine had to go. We inject an experimental compound directly into the synaptic core. Micron stared at the scan. Then he looked back at the man on the table. You want me, he said slowly, to shrink down, enter his brain, and save him. The lead doctor nodded. There is risk, he added. How much risk? The doctor hesitated. Usually fatal. Micron looked at Grinlord again. The smile was still there. And for the first time in years, the hero wondered something terrifying. Maybe the world would be better if he failed. Blackgate Institute had seen many dangerous criminals. Murderers, terrorists, master thieves. But none of them frightened the staff the way Grinlord did, even when he was unconscious. The monitors around his bed screamed with activity. Bright lines jumped wildly across the screens. His brain looked like a storm that never stopped. Dr. Elena Ward pointed to the scan. This is the problem, she said. Micron leaned closer. The neural map pulsed with violent flashes of energy. Every synapse is firing non-stop, Elena continued. His brain cannot slow down. The seizures will destroy the nervous system. How long, Micron asked. Hours. Maybe less. Another doctor cleared his throat. We tested every treatment we have. None of them work. Micron sighed. So you called me. Elena nodded. You're the only one who can reach the synaptic core. If the compound is injected directly there, the neural storm might stop. Might, Micron repeated. The room grew quiet. There's a high chance the host dies during the procedure, one doctor admitted. Micron looked at the man on the bed again. Grinlord. The criminal who had turned half the city into a nightmare. Let me get this straight, Micron said slowly. You want a hero to risk his life? To save the worst monster this city has ever known? No one answered. After a long moment, Micron walked toward the preparation table. Fine, he said. But if this goes wrong, the world might actually get lucky. The operating room lights dimmed as the procedure began. Doctors moved quickly, securing every monitor and scanning device around Grinlord's body. His wrists were strapped to the metal table, though no one believed the restraints were truly necessary. He was deeply sedated, yet the smile on his face never faded. Dr. Micron stood on a small platform beside the table. In his hand was a capsule containing the experimental compound. Around him, machines hummed as they prepared to track his position inside the brain. Last chance to back out, Dr. Elena Ward said quietly. Micron shook his head. Let's finish this. He pressed the control on his suit. The world around him began to grow. Or rather, he began to shrink. The table stretched like a giant steel landscape. The doctors became towering figures above him. Within seconds, Micron was no larger than a grain of sand. Vitals stable, someone said through the speakers. Micron walked toward the entrance point. Grinlord's nostril. Tracking signal is active, Elena said. Once inside, follow the neural pathways to the synaptic core. Micron took one last breath. Then he jumped. The moment he entered the body, everything changed. Dark tunnels stretched around him. Electric pulses flashed through the walls like lightning. Streams of neural energy rushed past him in every direction. Micron stared in amazement. This is his mind. But something about it felt wrong. The signals were too fast. Too chaotic. Like a brain that had never known peace. Micron followed the glowing neural pathways deeper into the storm. Electric pulses rushed past him like speeding trains. Memories flickered in the distance, brief flashes of laughter, screaming crowds, police sirens, burning buildings. The mind of Grinlord was not quiet. It was a battlefield of thoughts. Micron activated the scanner on his wrist. Synaptic core should be close, he muttered. Then the world exploded in light. A massive surge of bioelectric energy slammed into him. It felt like lightning tearing through his suit. Micron lost control and was thrown through the neural current. Everything turned white. When his vision returned, the chaos was gone. He was standing in a quiet park. Green grass stretched under warm sunlight. The air was calm. Birds chirped in the distance. For a moment, Micron thought he had left the brain entirely. Then he saw them. 2 small figures sitting on the grass. A young boy and a girl. The boy looked about 7 years old. Pale skin, dark hair, calm eyes that felt far too cold for someone his age. The girl smiled at him. Why do people say you're strange, she asked. The boy shrugged. I'm not strange, he said softly. The world is. 3 older boys suddenly walked toward them. You're sitting in our spot, one of them said. The boy didn't move. I don't see your names here. One of the bullies stepped forward and shoved him hard. The boy fell to the ground. Blood appeared on his lip. The bullies laughed. But then the boy slowly looked up. And he smiled. The smile on the boy's face did not belong to a child. Micron felt a cold chill run through him as he watched the scene unfold. The bullies were still laughing. One of them pointed at the boy on the ground. Look at him, the kid said. He's crying. But the boy wasn't crying. He was staring. Calm. Focused. Then he moved. In a flash, the boy jumped forward and tackled the bully to the ground. The other kids froze, shocked by how fast it happened. The boy grabbed a metal lunchbox lying in the grass. Micron realized what was about to happen. Wait. The boy raised the lunchbox high and slammed it down. Again and again. Each strike was harder than the last. The laughter stopped. The other children backed away in horror. The boy's face showed no anger, no fear, only that same quiet smile. The memory blurred as Micron watched helplessly. Suddenly the scene shifted. Now, he stood inside a school office. A younger version of the boy sat in a chair swinging his legs slowly. His lip had healed, but his eyes were just as empty. Across the desk, a worried principal spoke to the boy's mother. Over a dozen stitches, the principal said. We can't keep him here. The mother looked exhausted. The boy looked bored. Micron felt something unsettling settle in his mind. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't fear. This was something much worse. The cruelty had always been there. The office memory shattered like broken glass. Micron was pulled into another moment deeper inside the mind. The air felt colder here. Dark clouds covered the sky as a small house appeared in front of him. The walls were old, the paint peeling. Inside, angry voices echoed through the rooms. The boy was older now. Maybe 13. He sat quietly on the edge of his bed, while the shouting continued in the next room. You know something is wrong with him, a man's voice said. The stepfather. Micron moved closer, listening. The animals. The missing pets, the man continued. This isn't normal. The mother sounded tired. Defeated. He's just misunderstood. Micron turned back toward the boy. Lyle. The boy slowly stood up and opened a small bag. He packed a few clothes inside with calm, careful movements. No rush. No fear. Like he had already planned everything. Then he walked into the hallway. The arguing voices stopped when they saw him. For a moment no one spoke. Lyle picked up a wooden chair and quietly pushed it under the bedroom door handle, trapping them inside. Lyle, his mother called from the other side. Micron felt his chest tighten. The boy didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a small box of matches from his pocket. One quick strike. A tiny flame appeared. Lyle dropped the match onto the floor. The fire spread quickly across the old carpet. Behind the door his parents began shouting and pounding. But Lyle was already walking toward the front door. He stepped outside into the night. Flames climbed the walls behind him. And on his face was the same calm, quiet smile. Micron finally understood the truth. Grinlord was never created. He was born. The burning house faded into darkness. Micron felt himself pulled out of the memory like a diver rising too fast from deep water. The neural storm returned around him, flashes of light, violent currents of electricity racing through endless pathways. For a moment he just floated there, silent. The truth he had just witnessed settled heavily in his mind. All these years, Micron whispered, the city believed Grinlord had been shaped by tragedy. A broken childhood. A cruel world. A city filled with crime and corruption. People always searched for a reason. A moment that created the monster. But Micron had just seen the truth. There was no moment. No tragedy. No turning point. The cruelty had always been there. Even as a child, Lyle had shown no fear. No regret. No confusion about what he was doing. The violence wasn't an accident. It wasn't anger. It was enjoyment. Micron looked around the glowing neural pathways again. The chaos inside this brain suddenly made perfect sense. This mind was never broken, he said quietly. It was built this way. His wrist scanner beeped, pulling him back to the mission. The synaptic core was close now. A bright pulsing structure in the distance. The exact place where the compound had to be injected. Micron stared at it. One injection. That was all it would take to save Grinlord's life. But now the question was no longer scientific. It was moral. Was saving this mind the right thing to do? The synaptic core floated before Micron like a burning star. Streams of electric signals poured into it from every direction. Memories, thoughts, impulses, everything that made Grinlord who he was passed through this single glowing structure. Micron slowly approached it. His scanner confirmed the target. This is it, he whispered. All he had to do was inject the compound. One small dose would calm the neural storm. The seizures would stop. The brain would stabilize. Within hours, the most dangerous man in the city would wake up again. Alive. Micron held the capsule in his hand. But his mind was no longer on the mission. He remembered the boy in the park. The quiet smile. The the lunchbox rising and falling, the fire spreading through the house while a young Lyle walked away without fear. The monster had not been created by Gotham. It had always been there. Micron looked again at the glowing core. A hero saves lives, he said quietly. But another thought followed immediately. What if saving this life destroys thousands more? Outside in the operating room, the doctors watched the monitors nervously. Grinlord's brain activity was reaching critical levels. Inside the mind, Micron made his decision. He moved toward the synaptic core, the capsule raised in his hand. For a moment, the entire storm seemed to hold its breath. And then, Micron pressed forward. Comment 1 for the next part.